Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. We've got the Blue Jays and Yankees down in Tampa spring training report. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York sports for New York nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's go!
It's New York Minute Sports.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. So, the Yankees started off the game hot today, offensively hot. Paul Goldschmidt, Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, and Jazz Chisholm all joined the party today. Trent Grisham, not so much, but we'll get to that. But you know what? Today, Paul Goldschmidt had a monster day today. Paul Goldschmidt had 3 at-bats, 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 RBIs. He had a home run. But I say, shut him down immediately, if not sooner. Drive to an office, Max, buy one of those huge reams of bubble wrap. You know what? Put some more in the trunk for Giancarlo Stanton. Buy a bunch of bubble wrap and wrap Paul Goldschmidt in them. Put him on a hand truck like Hannibal Lecter and wheel him into the back room until August, okay? I told you, it's called the Bartolo Colon rule. What happened with Bartolo Colon? In the first half of the season, he'd go 11-1 for the New York Mets. Second half of the season, he'd finish the year 11-13 because he'd run out of gas. Paul Goldschmidt is an older player. We saw it last year. He started off the season hitting .378. The reason the guy is slapping singles is he doesn't have his legs underneath him anymore, and he can't hit for power. You got to remember, Paul Goldschmidt was hitting 38 home runs a year for the Arizona Diamondbacks, not even in his peak towards the end of his career. Now, with this guy being the every fourth day starter at first base, hopefully they will be able to cut down on the reps for him and stretch Paul Goldschmidt throughout a whole season. Now, I know a lot of people were also complaining about Paul Goldschmidt getting re-signed to the New York Yankees. But you got to remember, this is an indispensable sign because not only is Paul Goldschmidt a great dude, he's a great locker room guy, he's a Gold Glove level defense first baseman. So who would you rather mentor Ben Rice at first base than Paul Goldschmidt? So not only do you have your defensive coach on the New York Yankees, you have a secondary defensive coach who's actually played the game at a high rate that can give Ben Rice some insight on how to be a very good first baseman and to expedite it. And I think with Ben Rice's work ethic, I think he's going to be a very good defensive first baseman. And I got a lot of shit in the comments yesterday for even going remotely close to Ben Rice. My question is, does anybody watch or listen to what I say? I literally say in the beginning of the video yesterday, I go, this is how I feel. I go, I know it's not right, but I go, I think everyone thinks he's doing well. I don't think he's going to do well because of that point. And then I get flooded with comments going, the metrics and the stats say he's going to do great. Like, bro, get out of the Matrix. Get out of the movie They Live. You look like Roddy Piper from They Live, okay? ESPN said he's going to do good. You know how many times they say guys are going to do great? I'll give you a name. Joey Gallo, Josh Donaldson, Greg Bird, Montero, Bonsuelos, Ian Kennedy. The names go on and on. The New York Yankees in the last 24 years have produced 2 good positional players, Aaron Judge and Robinson Cano. So the copium going on after people that were born after 09, I just don't understand that blind allegiance. Whatever the front office says, we believe. Listen, Ben Rice, all the talking heads said Ben Rice said he's going to have a good year. Turn your TV sets off, folks. You don't even have to watch it, okay? It's not that Ben Rice could hit 226. He could have a tough time playing first base. The league gets out on him, and they know what's up with Ben Rice. Do I want him to do well? Absolutely. We were talking about projections, folks. And by the way, I didn't write those numbers. People in the comments are also asking why I projected those stats. I didn't project them, folks. But what I am projecting is that the New York Yankees are more athletic. They have more options on the bench. They're deep in their pitching. They have a spoil of riches with young guys under contractual control. And I think this has been a game plan from the New York Yankees since the Baby Bombers' failure. You know, when you go back in time, I think the New York Yankees were making moves when the Baby Bombers were on this team, thinking that they were going to have another core four, lack of a better term, for the next decade. Gary Sanchez, Aaron Judge, Greg Bird. I think that they were making offensive and free agent moves, basing it on the fact that the Baby Bombers were going to be there every World Series. And when that broke up, the Yankees were kind of fucked, because they had been making moves thinking that these guys were going to progress like Gary Sanchez, and they never came to fruition. So now, as long as it takes to walk into the woods as the Yankees front office and making moves with the Marcus Stromans and the DJ LeMahieu's and the Aaron Hicks and the Joey Gallos and all those terrible moves, those were all Band-Aids to try to get out of the woods from making those moves with the Baby Bombers. So finally, you're starting to see the plan come to action, whether it's getting under the luxury tax umbrella, whether it's getting guys under control. This is the team that we've been asking for. This is the team for years. The one thing that stood out in my mind is everyone complained about the New York Yankees running it back and theoretically having the same team, which they do. But this is a team on the come up that hasn't reached their full potential, because let's go in the Wayback Machine. Let's go to, 2022. Let's pick out that roster. Let's check that out. Match that up against the opening day roster that we're going to have today. It's night and day better than what we had. And for the last 3 years, silently, Brian Cashman, say what you will about him, but I am a Brian Cashman shill. Depends on the day, because I went to fire Brian Cashman night with a paper bag over my head. But I digress. The New York Yankees this year have athleticism. For so many years, we heard the fact that they just play station to station. They strike out, hit home runs. Now, when you look all over the place for the New York Yankees on this roster, you have options, you have depth, and you actually have a bench. The reason that we overpaid for DJ LeMahieu with 2 left feet is because there were no other options. Now, the Yankees have so many options, which can be a double-edged sword. Now, I just hope that the Yankees don't fall into the pitfall of having too much talent around, where they're plugging and playing guys all the time and the team can never build up a rhythm, where it's paralysis by analysis, where you have so many soldiers and only so many spots to keep them. Just like the Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones thing, which they both took the day off, thank God, for that competition. They should have moved those guys before the spring training even started for some major pitching and just moved on from this whole thing, because it's going to linger the whole spring training. So what do the Yankees do well with this lineup today? And they came out and they started mashing today. Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Aaron Judge, and Trent Grisham. So Trent Grisham looks like he's going to be the leadoff guy. And if you see from the stats, he's the only one hitting 167, and he's striking out a lot. I really think that Trent Grisham, I'm not going to beat this dead horse, but I think Trent Grisham's going to come back down to earth. And if you consider him to be your leadoff guy this year, I don't know if that's going to work out. Because once you get past Trent Grisham, you got Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Giancarlo Stanton. That is a really formidable 1 through 5. Now, the Yankees are going to score runs. I remember last year with Jason Dominguez in left field, everyone was like, where are the runs going to come from? And the Yankees led the American League in runs scored. They were first in multiple categories all over Major League Baseball and beat out the Dodgers in offensive categories all over the place, guys. So listen, the Yankees, though, need to work this year on situational hitting, okay? Hit and run and work the counts. The New York Yankees in the 90s, they had success most when they were working counts and working pitchers out of games, guys. The Yankees don't do that enough. It was all about launch angle and exit velocity. And you know what? It comes down to the Toronto Blue Jays proved a great point and how they won the AL East last year. It's about bat to ball. It's as simple as that. You can see baseball, it gets trendy, but then it always comes back to its original form, which is getting on base and putting the ball in play. And I think with the guys that Brian Cashman got on this team, that's exactly what they're going to do. Speaking of two guys that Brian Cashman brought on this team, which have some question marks this year, is Ahmad Rosario and Caballero. Now, Ahmad Rosario and Caballero were hit in the 7th and 8th spot today. And I kind of like this little tag team, left side of the infield, us against the rest of the world mentality that these guys bring. And also, every time I turned around today, Caballero was on base. You know, he might not be as good as an offensive power player as Anthony Volpe, but he will get on base. Every time I turned around today during the game, he's on base again. Anthony Volpe doesn't get on base enough. You know, we say that we were sold a bill of goods about Anthony Volpe about stealing bases, but when he got to the majors, he became a doubles guy and doesn't get on base enough to steal those bags. That's why when like Jazz Chisholm says he's going to hit 50 and 50, well, you better swing at 70% this year, Jazz. You better work 100 walks this year if you want to do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jazz Chisholm, with his athleticism, he can definitely steal that many bags. But with Caballero getting on base this much and him getting reps every day at shortstop, I can't wait to watch this guy cause havoc on the base paths. That's another thing that the Yankees didn't have in 2022, a base stealing threat. They used to have to bring up these freak shows from AAA that could only run and couldn't hit it all and hit 111. You know, they brought them up around playoff time to steal bags. Now they have multiple guys that can steal bags. Jazz Chisholm, Rosario, Caballero. I mean, you got about 5 or 6 guys that can steal bases at any given time on the New York Yankees, and that messes up a pitcher's whole game and afternoon. And speaking of pitching, let's go to the spring training pitching report today. It was my guy, my adopted son of last year, like I told you. I adopt Yankees every year, kind of like no-name guys. I adopted Ben Rice 2 years ago and Will Warren. Now, Will Warren gets a lot of shit from the fans and a lot of shit that I hear on Instagram, New York Minute, NEWYRKMIN on there. Now, I am in the Will Warren camp. A lot of people aren't because what they remember is the blow-ups. Now, did Will Warren have blow-up games last year? Absolutely. Does he need to start games better? Absolutely. He stumbles through the blocks every single time he starts a game, whether it's the first inning or the second inning, and then he'll let up 5 runs and knock himself behind the 8 ball. Kind of very similar to what Carlos Rodon did on the first year on the Yankees when we got him from free agency from the San Francisco Giants. But Will Warren was there every single day last year with Garrett Cole being down, with Luis Gil coming back in the second half of the season. Will Warren was a godsend for this team. You know, the best ability is availability, and that's exactly what Will Warren provided. But the big question is, can Will Warren work and build on last year's production? I think with my crystal ball out, 4th or 5th starter at best. I don't really see a spot for him in the starting rotation this year because when everyone's healthy, I mean, he's the 7th guy that I would go to. So future in the bullpen, middle relief guy, but it seems like the New York Yankees have a bunch of middle relief guys, quasi starters on this team that can eat 2 to 3 innings. You know, that's another place where the Yankees have flexibility. I mentioned Ramiro Mendoza, Jeff Nelson, Mike Stanton, guys that were a couple inning, they could eat innings. You know, they call them innings eaters, but they're better than that. So guys like Yarborough, and then also now you got guys like Brent Hedrick, who the New York Yankees front office are very high on, by the way. 6'5", 255-pound left-hander. They got him out of the Twins organization. It's been a big health and injury concern with him. That's the problem. But when he does put it together, I mean, this guy, with his first year in the Minnesota Twins, He had 78 strikeouts in 38 innings pitched. So when the guy is healthy, he's got nasty stuff, but it's very deceptive stuff. And you can start to see this as a trend in Major League Baseball. You look at Tim Hill, King of the Hill from AutoZone, right? I mean, him and that guy Rogers today. Bizarro World Tim Hill. He's Canadian version Tim Hill. Tyler Rogers with this sinker and slider and pitching half of his body, pitching 80 miles an hour today. I felt like I was in an episode of The Twilight Zone when I watched this guy pitch. Also, real quick, Jake Bird pitched today, which was a really, really good sign. He looked really good today, guys. And he looked confident in the bullpen. And guess what? We don't need him to be a high leverage guy. 7, 8, 9 is figured out on this team. We need depth, and we need relievers to start fighting out the 6th inning spot for the New York Yankees, because that's really all they really need to answer. More athletic. We got tired of paying the Carl Pravanos of the world, the Kayagawas of the world. You know, all these guys, Jacoby Ellsbury, that we paid massive amounts of money to, that never panned out for the New York Yankees. We heard complaints about that for year after year after year, and now we're not spending enough. So I don't know if it's a mix between they're never happy or the Yankees aren't doing enough. And do I think that the Yankees are ready for this regular season? Could they have done a little bit more in free agency? Absolutely. Do I think that the New York Yankees are a dangerous team on the come up? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that this AL East race is going to be fantastic this year. I don't think Boston has the hitting. They definitely have the pitching. I don't think Toronto has enough pitching. They definitely have the hitting. I think the Yankees have a good mix of both. Depends on if they can replicate last year. But most could be said about that for any team in the AL East other than the Baltimore Orioles, who also improved with Pete Alonso, who's on fire already this spring training. The Orioles didn't do enough to address their starting pitching. Do they have good quality starters? Absolutely. They got gamers, kind of very similar to what Toronto Blue Jays patched their starting rotation together with last year. But guess what? I'm going to be breaking down all of the AL East this year. I told you guys 26 might be the last year of the American League East with the realignment after a possible strike. So don't forget to hit your notification button. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. It's New York Minute Sports, baby. It's New York sports for New York nuts. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.